Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Thursday Simply Cyber Live. I'm your host, Gerald Auger, and every Thursday we bring in industry experts to talk about cool cybersecurity industry things. And today, although it wasn't scheduled, you may have seen a pop-up if you got here. So you're on the inside track. You're the insiders. Guys, we are doing a complete episode on cyber threat intel. I titled it Cyber Threat Intel Exposed. You may think you know cyber threat intel is, but today we're going to be joined by Eric Taylor and Joel Belton, both who are working on the defensive side of the house, both who are deep into cyber threat intelligence and curating it, analyzing it, writing reports based on it, and making decisions to help reduce risk for organizations based on that intel. We are going to do all sorts of theory today. Why do you have it? How do you implement it? What's valuable? What's stupid? And Eric and Joel are going to be sharing some of the resources, tips, tricks, and techniques that they use in order to be more effective at using cyber threat intel. It's going to be a wicked awesome episode. Stay tuned. We're going to have a good time. All right, Joel. All right, Eric. How you guys doing?
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on?
I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much, chat. You know, guys, this was a Renegade pop-up. I came up with this idea about 30 minutes ago. And because Eric Taylor and Joel Belton are such killer experts and awesome members of the Simply Cyber community, I pitched the idea. They said, let's do it. And here they are. I see B Second here, Pamela, Lacey Cochran, Paula Terranova. Great to see you all. All right. So, guys, we're talking cyber threat intel. Eric, let's just jump right into it. What is cyber threat intel?
All right, so it literally is a collection of artifacts from known IOCs, indicators of compromise that you can be able to search upon and see if it's impacted your specific organization.
Okay, so is it technical? Is threat intelligence exclusively technical IICs? This IP address, this registry key, this URL. Is that what it is?
I mean, for the most part, I'd say 90% of it, but
you
go there and eat your ice cream.
Joel's disputing this. Joel, what do you think threat intel is versus what Eric is stating?
So, I mean, threat intel actually it has different caveats, right? So, in incident response world and stuff like that, yeah, it's going to be your IOCs, it's going to be stuff like that. But when you actually start looking at cyber threat intel as a whole, it's broad. It's more broad than that. Mm-hmm. You can start actually looking at like the ransomware groups as a structure, like what tooling sets are they using. Just recently, I did some work writing a paper for a client on the landscape itself. So different groups splintering off, like at the very beginning with the Russia-Ukraine, war, conflict, whatever you want to call it, various groups taking sides of that political climate. And, Conti originally came out and said, they supported Russia, and then internally they had their own tool sets, CVEs that they used, as well as internal traffic that you could see that group started to break down. And now we're actually starting to see tertiary effects and ripples throughout the entire threat intel system of, individuals are actually leaving certain groups, and you're starting to see a wide range of changes. So
is it based exclusively around, is it mostly centered around the Russian-Ukraine conflict and the alliances that are formed from that, or was that just the first domino that tipped things over and now everything's going kind of bananas?
I mean, that's kind of a big thing that's happened, but I wouldn't say it's centrally located. I mean, you have the Lockbit 3.0 breach, or what have you. Disclosure,
encryption leak, yeah.
And then there's so much stuff that's happening. It's more than just IOCs, IP addresses, hash values and stuff. But when it comes to like incident response, and Eric can kind of tell you, that's where it really shines. But where threat intel kind of gets forgotten about is the strategic level. Like, when you go to a business and say, because you're in manufacturing, or because you're in healthcare, or because you're in a known type of industry, there are certain threat actors that'll use certain C2 nodes like Cobalt Strike or Brute Ratel. They'll use different tool sets, and those different tool sets will tell you what those different indicators are. So you can actually use threat intel to know by industry, and it'll give a better industry, so you can focus your efforts on certain protections that you can put in place.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
To piggyback off of that, not only in the industry, but the certain software that's inside of an organization, much like a lot of companies still use an on-premise Exchange server, whether it's been fully patched or not, there's still IOCs and there's still certain CVEs, things of that nature that are tied to that specific line of software that will be very valuable. So that way your security operations system that's you're doing your day-to-day can keep an eye out for those things and build out what's called YAML rules and other things that be an early level of detection for it. So
yeah, and it's important to note for chat and folks watching this potentially on replay, Eric Taylor, as I said in the beginning, defensive security practitioner, but he does a lot of work within the incident response space. So when he was talking about threat intel, yes, that tactical transactional pieces of threat intelligence are very valuable. And Joel is kind of in a different space, more at that strategic level. So it's really important for you to understand that threat intel isn't one type of thing, and it actually kind of goes across the entire spectrum of a business and of a security operation. So Joel, let me ask you, for that strategic threat intelligence, how do you get it? Is it always postmortems of victim organizations, or are there other techniques that you like to employ to get that strategic level threat intel?
So I mean, it varies really. The majority of it, unfortunately, is you're going through the dark web and you're looking at the poor suckers that got breached. The ransomware groups and threat actors. They do like to brag, saying, and sometimes they lie, right? They'll say, right, truthful threat actors. What? But no, I mean, so that's kind of part of it, is actually looking through and seeing, okay, did they really get, company XYZ information, or did they not? And working for various groups.
Well, so can I ask you really quickly, because I listened to Jack Resider's Darknet Diaries the other day about the R Evil episode, and this is a really specific instance, but I think it'll help illustrate threat intelligence. If you recall, in, I want to say like 2019, 2018 timeframe, a very well-known New York City-based law firm actually got compromised by R Evil, or claimed to have been compromised by R Evil. And they had celebrity clients, including Elton John, Lady Gaga, Donald Trump, right? And they said, you're going to pay this ransom or we're going to release the information. And, we never heard anything else about it. It wasn't understood whether they paid the ransom or if the threat actors were bluffing that they had this information. Maybe they had scraped something and they were trying to bluff it. For something like that, Joel, how would your threat intelligence skill set and techniques, and maybe you did some stuff related to that, how would that play out in that particular instance?
So actually with Re-Evil, I mean, also you can kind of look at, dark side and stuff like that. You just look at kind of their history, right? Are these are they known to be truthful? Like I know a few times you've said on your morning briefings that it's a business, and a lot of these, especially in like ransomware, they're gonna treat it like a business. And the funny thing is, a lot of ransomware, they have better customer service than a lot of legitimate companies. And because they see it as a business. So with like Re-Evil and stuff like that, you just kind of look at their historics of, how truthful are they, and how do they kind of handle themselves.
So Eric, flipping back to you, even whether it's that case or it's a different case, looking more at the transactional tactical level threat intelligence that you were referring to, Are you getting that post-mortem, or are you trying to goad the threat actors to kind of give up some of their infrastructure, give up some of their kind of tip their hand and give you some indicator on where to even begin looking or sniff? What's it look like from your point of view?
Yeah, so a lot of the threat actors, they do have the signature. If it is Black Casa, we definitely know that Black Casa primarily operates off of RDP, ransomware deployment protocol, or email phishing. Lockbit does somewhat, but Lockbit does a lot of CVE stuff. So, depending on what the threat actor is, then we know kind of what their default TTPs are, and we can start looking at that information and see how they did. If we start seeing like Lockbit is not known really for using Mimikatz a whole lot. They typically use Cobalt Strike. So if we see a network that's been impacted by Lockbit, but we're seeing traces of Mimikatz inside of that network, we're like, okay, either we got someone potentially pretending to be Lockbit, or we had multiple threat actors into this organization at one time. Lockbit just happened to, seal that envelope up front or whatever. So we use a lot of that threat intel to figure out, not only our own from historic of our cases, but a lot of the other DFIR firms across the country and even internationally that have seen that type of stuff.
Yeah, that actually brings up an interesting question that I have. I guess I'm calling it interesting, but this is almost more for me. What's the level of collaboration and information sharing among the good guys when it comes to threat intelligence?
It's hard. So now, even though we have a little bit of relationship with Recorded the Future and Kroll and Mandiant and things of that nature, just because of the SANS classes and some of the other organizations that we've actually met through, from a company, so like Barricade Cyber cannot just go to Mandiant and be like, hey, how about you share some threat intel? They'll give me the proverbial middle finger and tell me where to kick, right? So we use threat intel feeds to hopefully do a lot of that collaboration. And there's the free open sources like the Alien Vault OTX, and there's some other ones that are out there that are escaping me, to full paid on threat intel feeds, and they're not all considered the same by any means. Some of it is just regurgitated stuff that you would see on OTX a day or two before.
Mm-hmm.
And you're paying $10,000 for a junk feed that you could have pulled from a free resource.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's really, really good threat intel, right? So it's there's even threat intel feeds that are specific to your business. Like Joel said, if you're in manufacturing, if you're in healthcare, if you're in utilities, there's a lot of stuff that goes along with those type of threats. And CISA, with Jen Easterly, is helping push a lot of that communication forward. So, hats off to CISA for at least sharing some of that threat intel from some of those industries that are being heavily targeted, like the schools and infrastructure.
Yeah. Final question. Unless, Joel, did you have a comment? It looked like you wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody put in chat MISP. MISP is great for like IOC sharing, so it's through sticks and taxi and stuff like that. But really, what we're getting at is like the actual feeds. So I know I have so many places I get feeds, usually in the wonderful value of free. So like, I mean, there's Feedly. You can pull RSS feeds from. And you see how we do our threat briefings in the morning. You see a lot of them are like from Bleeping Computer. What are some of the other ones that I use?
The Register.
Register, Krebs on Security.
So you can see on some of those other articles that you can get those feeds, pull them from RSS, pull them through the RSS application, and you can get stuff like that. But again, that's going to be your post-mortem stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff where I'm working at is when you start joining things called ISACs. So I'm part of a healthcare ISAC because I have a client in the healthcare field, but there you're actually focused on those, like I said before, those industries. So you're able to, join that community, and they do like their monthly or weekly meetings, and you're able to get that intel sharing that you're actually looking for. And you guys can collaborate, and here's what I'm seeing in this, this company. Here's what, that type of cooperation through the communities.
Yeah, and I'm just going to pull it up on stream here. You guys can see this is the National Council of ISACs, and there's ISACs for all of these. These are member-only ISACs, so you have to prove that you're a legitimate person working at a legitimate organization. Obviously, bad guys could get around that if they wanted, but there's automotive ISAC, aviation ISAC, natural gas ISAC, elections, electricity. There's really one for most industries. There's two for healthcare, which is kind of funny. The maritime. So this is the ISAC that Joel is referring to. Not to jump on you there, Joel. Joel, so let me ask you, because I know for some of the IOCs, you can, with sticks and stuff, you can configure your SIM, your EDR, your whatever security tooling you want to ingest these IOCs and kind of dynamically update. But a report from the register or bleeping computer or something like that requires analysis and reading. So when you're doing that level of threat intelligence, how much time are you spending consuming some report, and then what do you do with it? Do you distill it? Do you extract key points? Do you make a confidence decision based on that intel, or what do you do with it?
All the above. I spend literally 40 plus hours. I mean, most of my weeks are 60 hours plus. Yeah, literally, you just get used to, reading very quickly of, these reports. But yeah, and a lot of those reports, if you actually look, they'll have hyperlinks to IOCs. And then, yeah, based on that, you aggregate that, and then you can literally pull those into a MISP instance. So for the company I work for, we have a industry-wide MISP instance that, we pull various clients into that SIM, and we're able to match those logs and those type of IOCs to what we're seeing. And, you can also set up rules, and you can set up your firewalls there's some really cool whiz bang technologies that you can use to just do that automatically. So
when you're looking at threat intel feeds, and you're, like Joel saying, you're ingesting this stuff, you really got to say, okay, what over the course or the last 10 cases in feeds that you looked at, what are the common variables, right? And then you can build out your threat, your IOCs, your threat intel already. It's like, okay, the VSS admin shadow all delete is definitely one. WMIC commands is definitely one. PowerShell encoding is definitely one. So you have your base set of intel that you're always looking at all the time, whether you're running a SOC or a DFIR firm. And then you're looking at these reports like, okay, what is new that I don't know about already? Granted, you're always going to have your IP addresses that you're going to need to go through and see, has any of our devices communicated with that stuff. But, from a tactical standpoint of what was executed, what was manipulated, register keys and stuff like that, what is new that you didn't know about already? And like Casley Joseph said, with MISP, especially when we're building it out internally, we can easily see that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, this is what's different and what's new, and you're able to quickly be able to adapt to the newer threats. But it takes time. Otherwise, if you just go to these threat intel feeds, you might as well just call the fire department and tell them to open up the hose into your mouth, because that's about what the information is going to be like to you. It's so much information. You really got to look at this stuff. So if you're looking to get into threat intel, definitely look at the major players and figure out what their commonalities are first. Then take that into your internal organization, implement that, get those threat intel feeds. Simple things like, are new services being created? I cannot tell you how many internal IT people do not look for something as simple as that. Audit your service creations. You'll be able to filter them down. It's like, okay, these are trusted. Yes, Adobe and Chrome and stuff like that. Every time it updates, it uninstalls and reinstalls those services, but you could filter that stuff out. But again, Just don't call the fire department out front. Just don't do it.
I like it. I like it. So Eric, let me ask you, and then I'll after you respond, I want Joel's thoughts on this. What do cyber pros get wrong about cyber threat intel? Like, what are misconceptions that people have, and you see it time and time again with newbies, if you will.
The rush to quick judgment. You've always got. So, a lot of times, especially when I was very early in forensics, I would, as soon as I seen 2 artifacts pop up, I'm like, oh, it's these guys, and that has burned me. The one thing that we get taught in a lot of our classes, until you have actual proof, everything is, I believe, the evidence is showing me, things of that nature. So never ever be quick to make assumptions until you have all the facts laid out. The other thing I could say is create a template. If you're in DFIR, there's several DFIR templates that are out there that are put out by Recorded Future, CrowdStrike, things of that nature. That you can be able to put all of your stuff in a timeline, build a timeline of these things. That way, again, back to the fire department, when you're starting ingesting your logs and you're looking at this stuff, it's a lot of information, and being able to figure out, did that happen before or after this other one, and how are these starting to go in? An Excel sheet is your friend. It really, really is.
Yeah, I'm pulling up just like a graphic. I typed in differ template, so we'll see how much value this is. But whoops. So I don't know if, I'm kind of curious if this is like a template that would be along the lines of what you're asking. And I do want to give credit to Malia Kelly at fadv.com. She's got the copyright there in the bottom. Just looking at this really quick, Eric, is this kind of what you're talking about when you say a template?
No, go on Google and just do CrowdStrike Incident Response Tracker.
All right, I'll do that. Let me see. CrowdStrike. Yep.
Incident Response Tracker. It'll go to a landing page. You'll have to give them some information. I promise you, they're not going to call. They just want to see who's actually downloading it.
All right. Yeah, I'll have to do that afterwards because I'm in a different application right now. But I'll do that. Yeah. I will do that. So
it's a pretty good setup. I mean, we don't use that one anymore, but it's a really, really good setup for people to start using.
Joel, same question for you, man. What do people get wrong about cyber threat intel?
I mean, that's that's a vague question. Just attribution of threat actors. If you actually look at, like CrowdStrike, Mandiant, MITRE, they are tracking, APTs and other groups. But if you look, they're not tracking them under the same name. So just attribution, if it's like my favorite right now is Carbon Spider. If you look at Carbon Spider,
yeah.
But then you go to MITRE and it's Fin7.
Yep.
Like you really have to get good about figuring out who's tracking what they're actually looking for. And that's really half the battle and also knowing that it's not going to be perfect unless you have a full-time team that has infiltrated those threat groups. You're just not going to know. It's a guessing game. So,
I will tell you too. The number one thing that gets me, right? The number one thing that gets me so mad because it took me years to figure it out, is that Fin7 is Rusty Spider or whatever you said, or like Cobalt, whatever, Lazarus Group is APT38 is what I mean. Lazarus Group doesn't have a bunch of names, but some of these threat actor groups, it's like. The security, it pisses me off. Like the security industry, can we not have a standard naming convention, a taxonomy? It's so annoying. It's so annoying. It really bothers me. Like I like form, I like structure, I like organization. And when you have like 5 different names for the same threat actor, it confuses the defenders when we're trying to share intel. It helps the bad guys, and that's why it makes me so mad. So, anyways, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it really grinds my gears.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who watches me knows I love my CrowdStrike, and I know CrowdStrike, Mandiant, and Recorded Future. When you're in their paid threat intel feeds, it'll literally say, also known as boop, 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 boop. So they'll have their name, that they love to come up with, but they'll also list the MITRE name. They'll list, what Mandiant's calling them, and Recorded Future's calling them and stuff like that. So I do see a little bit of that going in space right now.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. MITRE, I know, does on some of them that they know that they're tracking, but I actually have a Google Sheets that I'm part of a small closed knit community that's all that Google Sheet is going, okay, this threat actor has been seen, this threat actor has been known for this, and even to attribution for country. So yeah, like that's just one of the things, but also just other things that the cyber community gets wrong about threat intel is we don't know everything. I know I've had a client of soon as it hit, I love and hate Twitter all at the same time, but as soon as it hit Twitter, this particular client would be on Twitter. It's like, what do you know about this? I'm like, dude, like, it literally just hit 30 seconds ago. Give me some time to investigate it, and then I'll let you know. Like, I'm not God. I'm not the know all be all. So yeah, just this threat intel themselves, people like to think that, oh, well, you're an intelligence, you should know. It's like, well, sure, but there are processes, there are methods to the madness.
I got a fun question for you, Joel. So in our careers, we eventually we make mistakes, right? Like everybody kind of makes mistakes, learns from them, and grows. Come on, Eric Taylor. Eric. So I'm kind of curious. Usually it's like an IT horror story, like patching something on Friday and then breaking it, or I brought down production before. In threat intel, I mean, do you have like kind of a horror story, some like oops that you did just to kind of illustrate a learning opportunity?
It's on me.
Yeah, Joel.
Oh yeah, okay. So far, not yet. Knock on wood. There have been a few close calls of just false attribution. Just going back to, like I said, just trying to attribute. Looking at, from the SOC side, you see alerts and stuff coming on. You see, you see this IOC, this IP address has been linked to ransomware and the C2 node, and you're like, oh, and then you're trying to attribute that to a threat actor. Sometimes, yeah, you don't really want to jump too fast. And I made a really bad call, and thanks for superior supervisors, but they basically stopped me from calling the client and ripping the fire alarm, and just kind of talked it out, and it's like, oh, okay. So
all right. So the learning opportunity is, be careful with attribution, right? But at some point, you're never going to have all the puzzle pieces, right? You're not going to illuminate the whole room. So you do have to take that approach. I did see Robert Lee's blog around threat intelligence reporting using very specific terminology like high confidence, moderate confidence, what those definitions mean for that. So, I think that we might be able to use that type of information. I saw a question from Alana. I'm going to ask that, but Eric, I want to throw the question to you, the same question, because it is always fun if there is like a mistake or an oopsie kind of moment. Any stories from the trenches around oops?
The time that I hacked NASA when I was a kid? No, we won't go into that one. That one's been covered many times. I think I'll go back to when I made false assumptions early on, thinking a certain threat actor was in a network when it really wasn't them, just because of certain IOCs that was related to a different threat actor. So that, and making sure that you're documenting everything as you go, just like when we've discussed several times, when you're doing a penetration test, you're documenting all your findings and stuff as you go. You're definitely doing that, whether you're on the security side or your DFIR side. You got to document it, otherwise you're going to get mixed up very, very quickly. It took me a long time. The one thing I really struggled with was changing everything in our threat feeds over to UTC as a standard, because a lot of our clients are in different time zones. And God help us, and Joel can, I'm sure, attest to this as well, not all threat feeds are in the same uniform code either. So you got to convert all that stuff over, and you're just like, oh, Jiminy Christmas, right? So there's some learning lessons from the trenches.
That is really interesting. I feel like that's one very specific example of like the actual reality versus kind of the way like the job's explained, or the way you study in school for a certain job, or the way you watch YouTube videos. Like no one questions that the logs are all aggregated to correlate perfectly together. You just kind of assume like, oh, of course they are. Like, of course they're all in my time zone, of course. And it's just not the case. Yeah,
Especially when you have a client that's got multiple locations over multiple time zones or in different countries. Like I had a case 3 months ago. We had some people that were in Texas and some of them that were literally in Ukraine, and trying to bounce back and forth. Okay, this workstation was in Ukraine from this date to this date, so that timestamp was that. And then they came back to the States, and first they landed in JFK, spent 3 hours there, so I had to block that out. So any logs that were there with that time zone, it can get really hairy, really effing quick. So
we definitely. So let me ask you, Eric, what is your some of your go-to threat intel resources that are not paid, so people in chat could check them out, could like basically get their hands dirty and get a little bit of a vibe of what we're talking about here?
OTX at Alien Vault, they've got a free version. You can pay to get into some of their more advanced feeds or some more created leads that are put on by some of the authors. CISA, they put out their own threat intel reports. They just put one out not so long ago about the Hive ransomware using Screen Connect. So they listed IP addresses, they listed these other things. I'm a huge fan of the DFIreport.com. I get paid, part of that's paid subscription, but they have a ton of stuff on their website that you can be able to ingest. So those are 3 resources I would highly recommend.
I'm pulling these up right now. I'm going to show them on the screen really quick so people can see them, and then I'll drop links in chat for the 44 plus people who are joining us right now. Here is the differ report that Eric just mentioned. Eric, so is this something you subscribe to and get an email? Is this something you visit daily and look at? What do we do with this?
Yeah, you can't subscribe to an RSS feed, but I do subscribe to the Intel feed. So I'm constantly getting emails on the latest C2 servers, the latest Cobalt Strike servers, things of that nature. So they do have a paid subscription for that stuff. But
all right,
yeah, You need to add those C2s for BRC4 now. You know that, right?
Yeah. Don't get me started on that.
So what do you mean the C2 for the BRC4? Like, so C2s would be command and control. So that's like threat actor infrastructure for managing their attacks. But what's this BRBC thing? Or
yeah, so there was a guy. Which company did it come from again, Joel? Was it CrowdStrike or? Hold on, I'm going to find out. So, but it's Brute Ryle or Rotel C4, which is the new thing from. It's supposed to be the replacement of Cobalt Strike, and I forget who. I'm pulling it up right now. There was one of the
Badger?
guys.
Was the company called Badger?
It may have been.
Or is that just his nickname?
Yeah, no, that's definitely his nickname. Dark Vortex came from. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But he came from one of the big Fortune 100 companies. Built, this command and control system that you can buy, and this thing is effing ruthless. Mm-hmm. It really, really is. I paid for it a little while ago, which actually reminded me because I need to spin that back up again. Play with this some more. But this thing will walk through some stuff.
Yeah, it was literally designed. So Cobalt Strike's been around for years, and people have known that threat actors like to use it. So with BRC4, it was literally created to hide its beacons. Like it's not a traditional beaconing that like Cobalt Strike has.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not called Nighthawk Lacey. That's a different one. That's a very good one, but it's not that one. I just put the link there, Gerald, in the green room chat there for you.
Yeah, I'll bring it up on screen for everybody. I've got the threat feed stuff too on stream here. So let's take a look at it. This is Brute Ratel.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's gnarly. And and this is what I was saying with the strategic level. You're able to see threat actors are pulling this, and this is where it's very helpful, is because now you know that you're no longer looking for Cobalt Strike beacons. You're looking for a mixture of these, and
this is nuts, dude.
Oh yeah,
it is. And for $2,200, you too can now be a threat actor.
Or you could just download it from your local.
Don't hush. Please, no. We don't need any more. Please.
I mean, so threat actors are going to threat act, but this is incredibly
cheap,
competitively priced for what you're getting.
Yeah, don't do that. By the way, threat actors are they cracked it, and they're actually installing malware. So now, if you don't know what you're doing, now you're installing malware to use as your C2 node. Don't.
We cover that in the daily cyber threat briefing every morning. There's like at least one story about like Trojanized software being delivered via torrent, or today was like Simu, some 100,000 download mobile app that was malware. So, and just to kind of take it back really quick to Alien Vault, this is Alien Vault right here. I've logged into it. This is free, and I've logged into it. You can see here. This is just 5 hours ago, Intel, 8 hours ago, Intel. I'm sure there's a way to pull a little bit more, or pull IOCs, right?
Yep. Yeah. There you go, right there. So there's a way to download them as a CSV file and import them into your EDR.
Yeah, it's right there at the top. There's a download. So if you have an account, you can download all the IOCs. Through
this
Styx
is very
CSV.
If you're on a shoestring budget and you're multi-hatted or matrix BSec, for example, right? Like someone who's like a network engineer, but also because one time you stood up in a meeting and said something about security, you're somehow now also responsible for information security. This is a really great option right here.
And as you can see on some of these feeds, you see it's mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK framework.
Yeah.
Now, somebody actually put this in, so there may be errors, but for the most part, if you use it from trusted feeds and people there's constantly people putting information in there. If you use reputable and valid, follow them, you can pretty much get a good idea on mapping it to the framework.
Very cool. I do like that. And we're seeing a lot of security tooling, whether it's like threat intel feeds, or it is EDR solutions, attack emulation, whatever. MITRE ATT&CK is baked into everything now. It really has become kind of the standard taxonomy for I guess communicating what parts of the attack sequence are related to the different indicators of compromise.
I just posted a link there in the chat there for you. So this is like what CISA is releasing as publications for their IOC, so that way you can be able to start looking at it as well. If you want to open that up, it's up to you.
I got it. So you can sign up for this. It'll be probably delivered to your inbox, or a link to pull this down. I love it. Yeah. So you've got your high-level summary, which is good. The technical details for the nerds in the back, which is always good. You can see here, this is MITRE ATT&CK. It doesn't say MITRE ATT&CK, but this is MITRE ATT&CK's numbering convention, so it's definitely MITRE ATT&CK. This is fantastic. Actionable, simple, straight to the point. Here's IOCs. This is great. Way to go, dude. Again, you're not going to meet a bigger fan of Jen Easterly than this guy. I know she didn't write this report, but I feel like under her stewardship.
Yeah, we didn't have this kind of intel coming from CISA before Jen. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. BSec's right. Threat intel means you get to read all day. It's not get to read, it's have to read.
To read, yeah.
Okay. And here, I'm going to drop this link in chat for everybody. This is a great one to bookmark. This is kind of like the daily feed, right? Basically, as things come in, they get dumped to the top of here. You can also hit it as an RSS feed if you want. That doesn't look good, but your RSS feeder will look good. Maybe we'll bring this into the Simply Cyber Discord server as a feed. That would be pretty good. I like it.
I have it through a couple of so I use Slack for some company business, and I actually have it pulled in through Slack.
Smart. I like it. I like it. So what other type of I guess resources are you guys using? Are you going onto like Tor in the dark web, and like is that part of your day-to-day activity, or like and you don't have to show us that type of stuff on stream if you don't want to, but what is the benefit of doing that, and how are you navigating in the dark web? Joel?
So yeah, day to day, literally going through the dark web, and you're able to now, of course, doing research and stuff like that. Various threat actor Tor nodes, so you're able to actually log onto their websites, their data breach forums. If you're pretty slick, then you're able to create sock puppet accounts and stuff like that, and then you literally engage with those threat actors on Tor. I don't do that.
Looks like Joel froze.
Joel just got tickered down by a threat actor.
Intel
yeah, Joel just got hammered by a threat actor. No, you're good. You're good. You paused for a second. Just finish your last thought, Joel.
Man, somebody's dossing me. But
keynote, come in tomorrow because we're going to talk about DDoSing.
Love it.
But so where did I stop at?
You were talking about making soft puppet accounts and stuff like that and engaging with the Tor.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't specifically do that. There are other intelligence services like Intel 471 and stuff like that. They do threat actor engagements and stuff like that. So there are other Intel services that do that. My day-to-day is usually looking for data breaches, just seeing kind of what are they saying on their forums. Are they I have various Telegram accounts that are linked to the dark web that literally they're polling, what's going to be our next victim, and they're literally voting on what the victim is. I know Lapsus did that, and I was literally watching them voting, and then they were going to attack that particular customer.
Yeah, it was very anonymous like.
And
yeah, that sounds very on brand for Lapsus, which is very, adolescent and, less restrained.
But for threat intel, if you see that's coming down, even as a poll, and if that's your specific either a client, or if that's your specific industry, or if that's your specific company, it's good to know that they're actually targeting that person. So
love it. What about you, Eric? How are you using the dark web day to day?
I live there.
Really? Okay. You got
pretty much.
You've got a small like a tiny home on a nice piece of land out in the dark web.
Yeah, just go into the shed and just close the door and just be in there. Dark trench coat and everything. No, I mean, yeah, I do spend a fair amount on the dark web. I'm constantly in the chat forums, translating from Russian to English and everything like that, because a lot of them do speak Ukraine, Russia, Korean. Hold on.
Chinese. So do you just have like Google Translator open and you copy and paste it into Google Translator? Is that what?
Hell
you're doing?
Yeah!
Yeah. Cool.
I always make a joke with my kids. Here's a fun dad joke for you. I can speak any language but Greek, and you'll start speaking something. I'm like, sorry, that's Greek to me.
Oh. Love it. That was a good. I do like that one. All right, so you're living up on the dark web. Like, how do you guys?
In the chat forums and all that stuff, and we start seeing what they're talking about. We start seeing are there new are the threat actors recruiting for new affiliates? Sorry. Mm-hmm. So a lot of them are ransomware as a service or threat actor as a service, things of that nature. So you have, like we talked about earlier, there is a corporate identity for them, and then they hire a bunch of subcontractors that will get paid once the threat or the victim actually pays up. So It looks like we're getting challenged to start translating in Google Translate by Adam VV.
I love it. Yeah. Hey, and just to say hi to people in chat. Hi, Cyber Munchkin. Lane, what's up? Good to see you, Pamela. Lane with the Carrie joke, which was good. Adam dropping the Greek. BSEC's got a great question. Joel, I mean, do you have, like, when you were seeing that polling going on, did you feel any obligation, or did you not want to tip your hand by notifying those companies that were basically candidates?
It depended on, like I said, I work for an organization. I work for an MSSP that has those various clients, right? So if none of them were my clients, but if they were, then yeah, we definitely notify them. But the problem is too, if you try and be a vigilante to everybody, you could literally tip your hand, and now they know that somebody's squawking that's in their forums. So you do kind of have to play that, if it's not me, I hate it for you type of mentality. But if you're able to kind of like skirt, the anonymous side of like, hey, you may be targeted. Here's the forum that you might want to check out type of thing. Then yeah, I mean, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not going to start sending people to XXS. So I mean,
no.
Well, and I'll tell you, just from my own personal experience, you guys do this a lot more than I do, but I have come across some stuff in my travels that was clearly a problem for a company, that was clearly a small business, that clearly had nobody doing security for them. And I reached out to them to tell them that they had a problem and that they really should take a look at it, or have somebody take a look at it. And they never replied to me. And I followed up one other time. I made it clear. I'm like, I'm not trying to extort money from you. I'm not trying to sell service to you. Like, I'm literally just, I'm telling you that you dropped your wallet and you should pick it up. And they never replied or anything like that. So even when you try to tell an organization, you have not authority, but they don't know you from a hole in the wall, and you could be lying, right? You could be trying to dupe and scam them. So, BSEC, altruistically speaking, yeah, it'd be great to tell them like, hey, you should be on the lookout. You're definitely going to be next. But in practice, it does not really work that way, because most people are cynical, or I'm cynical, and a lot of people are cynical.
Well, I mean, just put yourself in their situation too. Somebody I don't know, and think about what we tell everybody. If you receive an email from somebody you don't know, you're not expecting, don't click on it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's been taught that, or at least should be, and they're literally doing what they've been told. Okay, there's an email from somebody I don't know that I wasn't expecting. And
talking all sorts of nonsense. Yeah,
I'm not even gonna bother to open it. Right?
It's true. I guess we're too good at our jobs. Adam wants to know any recent threat activity from other countries besides Russia. Eric's nodding his head. Eric, what do we got? What's on the docket?
Cuba is a massive player right now.
What?
Yeah, there's
Right.
even Cuba ransomware group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. Like, I'm saying what, but then at the same time, I literally just saw right here.
Right there.
The number
Cuba
one.
yeah.
All
They've been
right, so
around.
Keep talking.
So yeah, Cuba, we got people that are getting spun back up again out of Ukraine. We're seeing a lot of South America stuff going on right now. I've seen some stuff from Italy. It's a global thing. It really is. China's always a given though. Russia, China.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, real
Korea.
quick. I see on LinkedIn, Edward Gross mentions he's not seeing the links that we're talking about. Edward, jump on the YouTube streams if you can. Go to Simply Cyber YouTube, or youtube.com/simplycyber/ Gerald Dozier, whatever, and get in on the YouTube chat. You'll see a lot more stuff over there, and really anyone over on the LinkedIn side. Okay, so yeah, China obviously, but Cuba is kind of to me, I guess, kind of a surprise. When you said South America, I know Lapsus kind of got taken down out of England, but there was a lot of Brazilian action going on. Are we seeing Brazil as a major threat actor right now?
Yeah, Brazil and some other countries, yeah. I don't want to get too far into it, but I would just say that entire continent of South America, be on the watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder, too. If you think about economics, right? Like, people who may not necessarily be criminals, if they're painted into a corner, if they need to feed their kids, if they lost their job, if times are tough, people will do things that they need to do in order to get what they need to get. So I'm wondering, as the recession looms, as a war is happening in Eastern Europe, which affects jobs, opportunities, tons and tons and tons and tons of businesses left Russia when they invaded, right? So, I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs. People are hungry. Obviously, there's revolution in the air in China. So I wonder if, you've got your core threat actors, and then you've got this population of, I don't want to call them middling people, but people who wouldn't necessarily fall into that lifestyle but don't have a choice, or these threat actors as a services are like, what an easy way to market. Like, hey, are you hungry? Hey, is your kid cold? Would you like to make $100,000 by doing not much except attacking America? Like, you know what I mean? It sounds like a kind of an easy sell. I mean, obviously, even check your morals at the door, but
yeah, I mean, that goes right into the whole insider threat where, Lapsus was major for it. Hey, I'll give you $10,000. Just open up an any desk session or whatever, and just walk away, go take lunch or something. And you're able to really do that. I mean, Nvidia they were down in South America, and that whole thing came up, and they got hacked and everything like that. But they hacked back, kind of like what the previous comment is. What about the U.S. to other countries? And that's really a sticky subject to talk about, where it's frowned upon from the U.S. government standpoint to hack back, right? Yep. Will you go to jail for it? Probably not, but you're going to have some very unpleasant conversations with some men in dark jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually that question was like, are we seeing like threat actors? I'm assuming just been of like, are we seeing threat actors in the U.S.? And
yes,
where
it's very rare.
It's rare. Do you know why? It's because of, one, a lot of the places that you're looking at have very minimal like extradition treaties. Like it's hard to get to them. That's why you're seeing a lot of them like from Russia, because sure, there's threat actors in Russia. Like we know where they are, but is Russia going to hand them over? No. Like, and that's why you're seeing a lot of those, the Russia and China and those organizations in which, the U.S. is like, well, you feel like the little kid that somebody took your popsicle, mommy, they took my popsicle. It's like, okay, get over it. Like they're just not going to hand those threat actors over now.
And I mean, think of it from an economic standpoint where you're a third world country. Your GDP is through the floor. Your civilians are starving, but you've got a hacker group inside of there that is exfiltrating USD, converting it to crypto and putting it into theirs. They're going to immediately spend it in their own local economy for food, gas, whatever. So they're going to look the other way. It's like, we're of course getting taxes from that income as well, but it's a boost to their local economy. So yeah, absolutely, they're going to look the other way, especially when the entire section is hurting.
Well, that's exactly how North Korea is working right now.
Yeah.
Lazarus, that's how they're funding.
That is their
North
main
Korea.
import. That is their GDP. Now, CyberSight Canada or Cyber Insight Canada actually had it wasn't a question, but I thought it was interesting enough, and I'd love your thoughts on this, Eric, and then Joel. He said Russian expats in Cuba. So I'm curious, based on the TTPs and the behaviors that you're seeing in some of these emerging threat actor countries like Cuba, like some of the South American ones, do you think that the citizens of those regions are growing and maturing and becoming these sophisticated actors? I use that in quotes, right? Or is it sophisticated threat actors from known countries like Russia and Romania and China, obviously not North Korea, but Iran, Pakistan, moving to warmer climates? Like, hey, you know what sucks? Romania in the winter. You know what's not bad? Cuba in the winter. Like, let's go to Cuba. So based on what limited, and this is a threat intel report, actually, I guess. What's your confidence level on expats being the threat actors versus the country itself growing up?
So this is all pure speculation. I don't have any hard facts on this.
Yep.
Are there people relocating? Absolutely. I guarantee it. What's the percentage of it? I'm sure it's pretty low. A lot of these people are they got roots in their local environment. They got family, kids, extended family, whatever. So the chance of them, upping and completely moving to a different country is probably very minimal. Where we have a mindset here in the country, it's like you grow up and you leave the nest. But you look at, South America, their whole family is always together, and you'll see that in other countries as well. Where it's not unnormal for mom, grandma, great grandma, all multi generations to be either in the same house or very, very close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So them relocating is very, very hard. But we do see, there are what I call the startup ransomware groups, like the Phobos and Dharma, where it doesn't take a lot of skill to do it. And the payouts are very, very small. But as you progress and you get better and better at being a threat actor, then you can be able to go and say, hey, I got street cred because I hacked all these companies. I did all these techniques, and I learned how to do Mimikatz, and I learned how to do Cobalt Strike and things of that nature, so they can advance themselves up to a level of Lockbit or whatever, Cuba ransomware and Hive and stuff like that to, make more money. So, think of it as your local freelance person, that just quit the plumbing company last week and wants to go out on their own. They're going to do it, for bottom price, repairs, because they're just getting out on their own. Right. So they don't have, a whole lot of street cred. They're trying to pick up all the side jobs they can to feed their family. But as they get better and better and hire a tech or two, and, their prices are going to go up and they're going to be able to get a better clientele. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joel, do you want any thoughts or follow up on kind of expats versus homegrown?
I mean, yeah, with Russia, like in Russia in general, there's not. I don't think. Like Eric said, it's just speculation, really. I mean, unless you're in those groups and you're having those conversations with those people, you really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But from my opinion, I don't think there's a lot of moving per se, like geolocation from Russia. I mean, they're safe. They're not fighting a war in their home turf. Now, like when you go to like Ukraine, there's literally war in their country. So the ransomware groups and the threat actor groups and stuff like that were usually based in Ukraine. Oh yeah, they're gone. They're setting up stakes elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you kind of also have to look at what's going on in the strategic and political landscape, like with sanctions and stuff like that. So where the part of the threat intel that I do, as far as like ransomware groups, there
Mm-hmm.
are some moving from Russia just for the sheer fact of the sanctions that the US is putting on them. Like they're not able to get the money, but you do have those those family oriented people that are like, well, grandma can't move, she has a bum leg, so you can't just pick up. But for the majority, the people that are, the 18 to 25, the kids that like that, they're like, oh, well, I have nothing keeping me here. And it's easier for me to just go move and, go move somewhere warm, or go move to Brazil, or go move, God forbid, Hawaii,
Yeah.
and then just pull up a VPN and you're doing stuff there.
The Mahala threat actor group. So
you just spoke that to existence. Now I got another TTP to look out for. Thanks.
Yep. No worries. My pleasure. So we got a couple minutes left on the stream. I want to thank Eric Taylor and Joel Belton, cyber threat, intel threat experts, for sharing all their thoughts, all their tools. One last question. I think it's a great one. Nicholas asked, Joel, you can start with your response. If someone was like, hey, like I'm either not in cybersecurity or I'm in cybersecurity, but I'm like, a GRC clipboard guy, or I work in a SOC, like how could I get better at threat intel? Like what's the path? How could I learn? Like, because just going to Alien Vault and reading the thread, like, maybe that's it, but you don't have context, you don't understand how it fits. What would you say to Nicholas, Joel?
Actually, I was gonna answer this. So, but yeah, there are some like try hack me. I know there's a try hack me box on getting intro to threat intel. I know Mr. Haircut Fish. I think he did a write up on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the Try Hack Me. I know there are a couple paths that way. I mean, there's so many classes, but for the most part, it's literally learning how to research. Just
Mm-hmm.
open up Google, pick a threat actor like, Conti, just pick a particular threat actor and use them as like a research point on, who are they? What are their drives? Why do they do it? What countries and stuff? Get good at like researching a particular topic, like ransomware, malware. Just pick kind of a topic and go from there. Like I stated, like most of my stuff is APT groups, ransomware groups, like the group itself. But I mean, threat intel could literally just be picking a malware and dissecting it. Reverse engineering, malware analysis, and stuff like that. So just get good at like analyzing and researching a particular topic, and that's usually kind of where you get your start. And then just get used to reading a lot of the threat intel feeds. Start looking at Mandiant. Start looking at the MITRE ATT&CK framework, like we said before. I mean, a lot of the stuff is getting mapped to MITRE ATT&CK framework. So getting used to looking at that. So, you're able to take a particular, feed or article and mapping it to MITRE ATT&CK framework, going, oh, well, this threat actor, they used phishing, they did this, and start mapping it out and start getting used to seeing that type of thing. You'll start realizing that's the majority of threat intel is research.
Okay. I like it. Eric, what are your thoughts for the burgeoning threat intelligence analyst?
I got none. No, just kidding. Yeah, I mean, do the Try Hack Me. They definitely have advanced it. It used to be just a giant CTF, but even casually Joseph, who works for me, and some other folks have let me see the light that Try Hack Me has definitely become a little bit more advanced these days. Once you kind of felt like you've outskilled that one, I would go to conferences like Black Hills Information Security, because you could literally, John Strand and Bo and Alex, you could sit there and buy them a couple cups of coffee or Coke or beer, and they will unleash their world to you. And I mean, and then once you get ready for the big times, go to SANS. That'd be the steps that I would do. A lot of these groups, a lot of the SANS instructors like John Strand, they have their own companies and they have their own independent conferences. So start looking for them, learn as much as you can from them, and then go up to the big leagues, if you will.
All right. So this is all great information, all actionable intel. Again, I said this on the morning stream, the daily cyber threat briefing this morning, or I said it to someone. I was interviewed earlier. I forget where I said it, but basically all the stuff is there. All the guidance is there. Like, you just have to put the time and effort and energy in. There's no easy button. Whether it's cyber threat intelligence, SOC analyst, GRC, there's no easy button. And breaking in and getting the job, like, it's hard work to get there. And then here's a spoiler alert. Once you get there, it's hard work to do the job, right? Like, you don't just climb the mountain and then you
I'm here.
Yeah. No. That doesn't work. You have to keep working. And the techniques, the behaviors, the practices that you develop while trying to break in, you're just going to continue doing that. That's why cybersecurity is a lifestyle, and one that isn't for everybody. It's not being exclusionary or gatekeeping. It's like, literally, you got to really be into it, because you're going to be doing it a lot. These are great resources. I want to thank our guests today, Joel and Eric Taylor from Barricade Cyber Solutions. Joel, redacted from redacted. Lot of great resources, guys. Look at all the links in chat. If you go to the Simply Cyber Discord server, all of the comments are actually captured in the stream chat channel on Discord, so you can scroll back up and get to the URLs if you'd like to do that. I want to thank all of you for being here. We are at 60 people right now. This was a pop-up stream, so there was no promotion, there was no socializing, none of that. Want to remind everybody of a couple things before we bug out of here. One, later tonight at, I think 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, DJ BSEC is on Twitch. He is one of the mods. He's in chat right now. He will be doing the first night of Advent of Cyber, Try Hack Me's Advent of Cyber, live on stream. And if you don't know what that is, it's a cool thing that Try Hack Me does every year, where basically it's like an advent calendar. It's 24 days of challenges. He's going to be doing one live on stream later today. Go to Twitch TV /DJ BSEC. I'll drop it in chat also. If you guys are interested, he runs a cool stream. It's usually him DJ and stuff like that, but it's a fun stream. He knows what he's doing. He puts on a good show. That would definitely be fun. And that, I think that's all. Oh. And the other thing I just wanted to share with everybody is cybersecuritycares.com. This is just for the next week or so. It's a ongoing kind of charity donation type request thing. If you go to cybersecurity-cares.com, you'll see it. Basically 91 cents of every dollar donated will go directly towards putting food in a hungry kid's mouth, right? It's not like 10 cents of every dollar. Like, this thing has been vetted by independent auditors, and like, this little girl is going to eat because people are donating. I personally donated $100. You don't need to donate. I'm just making you aware that this is a charity that I am aligning with. You can see Simply Cyber is proud to be affiliated with this. Lima Charlie's been running the effort, but I want to share with you that cybersecurity-cares is definitely a great initiative, and one that I'm happy to be associated with. All right, guys.
I just want to be, you know me, and I like to mess with people, because Adam did the whole Greek language and everything, and that was a shout out to you, Joel, for ice cream when he did that language. But since he says he wants Flipper Zero so bad, I'm just holding up all the different boxes of Flipper Zero that I have.
Oh my God! What a boss! You just Flipper Zeros for days.
Yeah, he bought them on the dark web.
Oh, all right. I love it. I love it, guys. All right, so that's going to do it for today's stream. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Joel and Eric, for being here. Guys, we'll catch you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Time for the daily cyber threat briefing, and then tomorrow at 4:30 p.m., a very special pilot episode of a brand new show. There's going to be all sorts of mistakes made, a lot of audio issues, so if you want to see what it looks like when it's not smooth, and be part of helping shape what this new show is going to be, come over to the Simply Cyber office hours after dark. Confessions or whatever. We haven't named the show yet. It's a working title.
No, come on now. We don't want to be like a Showtime show.
No, I know. Well, that's where I was going. Yes,
the
exactly.
After Dark Confessions.
Yeah. You'll have to like flip back and forth with the A/B switch if you guys are old enough to know what I'm talking about.
Oh my God!
To get the blurry thing to clear up.
Channel 3. It's Channel 3.
That's an old reference for people with gray in their hair.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Take care, everybody.